Welcome to Diabetes Chat. Tonight we have open forum night. Hope everyone is doing good on this Monday evening. Just setting up all the tech stuff in the background to make sure that we are all set for tonight's Diabetes Chat. Hope everyone is doing good. Welcome along again. Hello to Claire, who's listening in the background, and I can see Leslie there as well. If you want to come and join tonight's chat, you can. You can request the microphone. You can hashtag Diabetes Chat, and you can come say hello, send your messages, or come speak on the mic and join the panel tonight. Hello, Claire. How's it going?
Hey, Tom. I'm all right.
Good, good.
Just looking for something, and I can't think what I'm looking for.
Oh yeah, it's been one of them days, eh? Hopefully I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I
would
know
you
what
do me
I
a
found
favour?
out what I was looking for.
Would you do me a favour, and just to make sure everything's working, would you jump off this call, head to our YouTube channel, and make sure that all the sound is coming through there, that you can hear me on the panel? Does that make sense? And then come back and let me know. I've had to tweak a few things tonight to see if it works, so hopefully it is. So yeah, let us know.
Back in a minute.
Brilliant. So welcome along to Diabetes Chat tonight. If this is your first time, I can see Alison there, and Leslie, and Kirsty, the early birds of tonight's chat. Hello, Alison. Welcome along. How are you? You have to unmute.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm half asleep now at the moment.
Oh, good.
Just seen our son off back to Glasgow at the station. So
yes.
Yeah, it's all those emotions, and I've just made myself a cuppa. So I think I'm probably sitting down for the first time today.
Oh my goodness!
Now, so thank you.
No. Well, I didn't do much. To be honest, yeah. I think I need to do more of that, where you just like literally just sit down for 10 minutes and literally just grab a cuppa. And there's so many times in work or whatever, I'll grab one, and then like this morning I get in and then there's something comes up or something happens and it's like, I'll get one now, and then nothing. And to be honest, I don't think I've had a cup of tea all day. I don't really drink much tea, but I think I need to find some me time to have a cup of tea. And I haven't even had time to put the kettle on tonight. I've got some Pepsi Max, so that'll do for now. Yeah, how are you? How are you? Obviously tonight is open forum, and we'll talk soon about the Tech Collective and stuff like that. Maybe let's get people through the door. Let's say hi, and then maybe next 20 minutes or so we can definitely talk about it, or whenever. But how are you in general? How's the world of diabetes with you? And also, Claire, did it work on YouTube? Could you hear me?
Yes, I could.
Brilliant. I'm just we've had a few tech issues tonight, so I'm really improvising. I'm trying to hopefully get this to work tonight, because technology has decided not to work at 7:00 tonight. So panically ringing Mary, like stressed, like, oh my god. But hey, we're here. We are streaming via my phone tonight because technology is not working. However, we're still using our YouTube with some magic powers. So all is good. We seem to be kind of working. And that Belinda's just said, I can hear you on YouTube. Happy days. And Belinda, I haven't had time to message you, and I've received that lovely, incredible, thoughtful gift for Harry and Ella, and a lovely Christmas card as well. Thank you so much. And I will definitely later on send you the WhatsApp pictures and videos, because I did a little video because it was just awesome. So yeah, I will do that. Thank you so much. It's really, really cool. And I said to Kat, well, we'll have to get you a card over to Australia. So I can see so many people. Hello. Diabetes Chat, hashtag Diabetes Chat. Richard's messaging me, I've got the laptop on, what's the best ... I'll message him in a minute. Mary, let you take over for a sec while I just make sure Richard can get in. And hello to everyone. How is everyone tonight?
Hello, everyone. I'm stuffing my dinner down my mouth because it's been one of those days. I don't know. Like, I'm just laughing at Tom saying he couldn't get a cup of tea, and Ali, like, that you didn't get to sit down. I didn't actually stand up all day. I've just been stuck to my desk all day trying to get stuff done, and then after work it was just going with all the stuff for school, after school stuff. Mondays are busy, but here anyway now, and I've got my dinner. Loads on last week. We had so much on. I'm really looking forward to hearing about the Tech Collective, to hear about what you guys thought of the conference we had last Monday. I can't believe that was only last Monday, actually. Last week was just such a whirlwind, and I had no CGM. I had a pump, but I was back in the dark, and I think that, like, got CGM going at the end of the week, but it was just hell. I really didn't like it at all. But it wasn't that I'd forgotten about it either. I kept trying to get it to work and when Tom phoned to say about this wasn't going so well tonight, all I could feel was like a bit of post-traumatic stress disorder, like from last week, because you just constantly trying to get it to work, and you just want things to be consistent, and things just don't work when you want them to work, and all the same. It doesn't matter if it's a sensor or like your system to host spaces on your laptop. Yeah. So how's everybody doing? Kirsty, I see you. You're here for the Tech Collective. I'm really looking forward to just hearing you talk as well, because I had the privilege last Friday to hear your talk that you gave in Scottish Parliament, and honestly,
so did I, Mary. So did I. I had a sneak preview, and it was absolutely incredible, and I absolutely love that Kirsty's jumped on the panel. And before we maybe go into the Tech Collective and all that, let's just make sure everyone's okay. But Kirsty, how are you? Like, how are you? And do you want to maybe tell, welcome along to DiabetesChat, and do you want to maybe share a little bit about who you are? Please.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Kirsty. I live in Glasgow, and I've had type 1 diabetes for 30 years. So I was diagnosed when I was a baby, and I've been part of Diabetes Scotland and Diabetes UK since day one, pretty much. My parents were highly involved when we were kids, and then that's just kind of grown into being a part of my life as an adult. So I was asked by the Diabetes UK staff to speak at the parliamentary reception held last week, and it has been really overwhelming, the positive response and the amount of people that have reached out and said that really reflects my experience, because I spoke about how diabetes can be quite dark and depressing, really, and how having access to diabetes tech has really kind of saved me from that, and it's really positively impacted and changed my life. So a lot of people messaging, just reaching out, a lot of people saying that they didn't realise as well how difficult it was, and that I was going through that, like people close to me that don't have diabetes. But it's been wild. It felt really special to be allowed to do that. But I've had a week of kind of getting over it, the shock of it all.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
The strangers.
It really was phenomenal, Kirsty, because it was just part of it that really kind of shook me, because it was the bit you were talking about when all the Libra stuff started to get difficult last year. Like that was where I felt I was last week. It was like, why is all this stuff not working? Like, it was so hard when your sensor doesn't work, or that it should work, and things aren't right, and like, you know what you need then at that point, you just need it to work.
Absolutely. And then when it does fail, it's like somebody pulling the rug from under you.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, isn't it, that we get so adjusted to living with diabetes technology, and when it fails and you've got to go back to basics, is like a massive shock to our systems. It's like with me, they won't prescribe me insulin injections or anything like that. Don't know why, but if my pump fails, I'm kind of screwed. And I'm like, what am I meant to do? I'm lucky that I get syringes, but it's like, I don't even know how to use the syringe. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
They won't prescribe you with pens, do they?
No. So I kind of told them that I didn't want pens because I felt like I was wasting them. And then ever since then, I've never been offered pens or anything. So I've got weird syringes that are very weird to use. But if they were...
You have to send a picture, Di. I honestly believe that everyone who has a pump should have a pen, a disposable pen, or, which I really advocate for, a smart pen, because I think people that are using pumps, which is very high tech, and going back to pens is probably a massive leap, but with smart pens, it has so many benefits to it, such as being able to see when you last injected and how many units. And honestly, I'm a firm believer that everyone who's on pump should have that a pen option, ideally a smart pen. And that's just me talking, Tom, not DiabetesChat. But please send us a picture about the syringes.
We have cartridges, Di, and like, so when I'll refill our pumps from the cartridges to keep going through the insulin, so I'm not wasting any insulin. They always have a backup then with a cartridge and a pen.
The thing
my needles look like heroin needles, so which is quite funny because throwback to a story a couple of months ago, well, back last year, not a couple of months ago, I went to an outdoor event and I had to have police sniffer dogs on me and things like that because security wasn't well educated why I had like 10 needles on me, and I was like, once I use one, I've got to throw them away because they're not reusable. I mean, they say they're not reusable, but but it's just weird. I'll show you a picture in a bit, but yeah, it's all interesting. And then going back a couple of months, when was it? When did I start T-Slim? A couple of weeks before I started this T-Slim, my previous pump failed on me. So I was lucky that they allowed me to switch over to T-Slim as quick as I was allowed. It only took me like 3 weeks after my Medtronic pump failed to be upgraded over to T-Slim. They wanted me to stay on Medtronic, but I was like, nope, not happening.
Wow. We've just had a message from Stephen. He says, need to send you an apology, Kirsty, for Lewis's squeaky shoes during her speech last week, with a winky emoji.
Lewis could have been up there as the compare. He could have been hosting the night.
Brilliant. But how great is that, isn't it? Having young guys be there, and it was lovely to see all the amazing photos and all the posts that you guys are sharing out, and many advocates and many great people there, including young children, and it was just really fascinating to just see. So yeah, brilliant stuff, and it's lovely for you to come on tonight, Kirsty, to chat away to us.
Yeah. Just before we go on to that, Tom, David, I put a picture in the chat of what were the old needles back in the 90s, when what I was using. Are these the kind of needles you have? Are they the ones that come with your? Because I know with T-Slim, there has a 3mm needle. That is not accurate enough to give you an injection from, because it just goes, if I remember rightly, in about tenths of a milliliter, which is a lot different to the units that we give, really, because a tenth of a milliliter is like 10 units, if I remember rightly. I mean, I'm just looking back at them because some of those there, the adult syringes, were in units of 2, whereas we can go down to 0.0, 0.01 even on pumps. But literally, what often happens is, and I was talking to the practice diabetes specialist, and she said, "Well, what happens if you don't order something for 4 months? It doesn't appear on the NHS reorder scheme when you look at it on your apps and stuff." but if you put a note, they'll order it for you.
Yeah, so they are the needles. I did post a photo. Yeah, they are the needles that I use. I do like them that basically I don't have to carry pens around with me. I've just got syringes, which is easier for me. But I do miss having a pen because I don't know how to use a syringe. I've not been trained to use them.
Belinda, who's listening on YouTube, says sick leave management plans should include pen plans and pump failure plans. I think it's something to go back to your team about that and see what they can do, isn't it? I assumed that would be the option. I didn't know people would option of syringes. I think it's good. It's good to have the options of what you want, really, and I don't think really, from my point, is that they should be blocking you from having pens. That just seems a bit.
Yeah, it's a bit
bizarre.
I kind of asked for them. They most probably would give them to me. I've just not bothered asking. But I've just kind of looked at these syringes and they've been sat in my case for so long that all the numbers have rubbed off them and I've not used them. And I'm like, so if I need to use them, how do I use them? Because there's no numbers on there to know how much insulin I'm going to be taking. Well, we'll just wing it if things have to happen, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. Stephen, following the chat, says, been given similar needles alongside my T-Slim. No chance I'll be using them. We'll continue to order cartridges for our smart pens every year or so. Safer for both Lewis and I. Thank you, Stephen, for sharing that. You guys can get involved. Press that little button at the bottom of the screen to chat, and you can send a message or hashtag DiabetesChat, and it'll come through our system, hopefully, and we can read your comments. Or if you're on the YouTube page, like Belinda, and I know there's other people watching, say hi, let us know who you are, where you're listening from, and join in the conversation.
Big shout out to Belinda. She sent me a message. She's on a big road trip to Melbourne at the minute, so she's just listening to us on YouTube.
Brilliant. I love last week because
I want to go on a road trip to Melbourne. Where's that?
Let's go. Come on, let's go. We'll get the Diabetes Chat bus out and we'll tour. Brilliant stuff. And last week, having the Diabetes Chat conference, it was amazing, where we literally were connecting people from all over the world, and it was great that Belinda was tuned in from Australia, and she was sending me tweets, pictures over WhatsApp. And Mary, I was blown away because she was driving and she had us on in her car. And on the little screen, it was like Diabetes Chat conference, and I was like, oh my goodness! And it was just so cool. And
she sent me the same picture.
And I saw, I saw so many fabulous people were screenshotting the videos. People were
the big screen one was class.
The big screen. There were so many people sending big screen pictures, watching on their big TVs, and there was one particular one with a child watching the Diabetes Chat Kids, and that just really just giving me goosebumps. Other children watching other children advocate for everyone, and it was just tremendous. And we're definitely going to do more. We're definitely going to do some Diabetes Chat Kids episodes next year with Lachlan, Max, and Shane and Talia and Talia. I can't even speak tonight. Put my teeth back in, and yeah, looking forward to it. So before we jump to our sort of hour of awesomeness review in the last week or so, how are you, Leslie and Ali? How's things with you?
I am tired. It takes a lot out of you travelling and being full on for those couple of hours. So I'm still recovering.
I get you totally.
Yeah, it was 4 hours down, 4 hours back up, and I even got onto Princess Street to go shopping, and I'm like, nah, I can't be bothered, and got the train home.
Oh, I get you. I was down home in Wicklow, and it's 4 hours and 4 hours back. It's exhausting travelling and then to do stuff and then to get home again. Did you do it all in one day?
No, down on the Tuesday and then back up on the Wednesday.
Okay, that's not so bad.
There's no trains home at that time of night.
Whereabouts do you live, Leslie?
How good is your geography?
Terrible, but I know from the big I'm gonna put up Google Maps. Is it near Aberdeen?
No.
No. Okay.
Do you know where Inverness is?
Yes.
About 20 miles north of that.
Okay. All right. I can picture in my head the blob of land. That is some trip then. Okay. Yeah. And it was in Glasgow, wasn't it?
Edinburgh.
Or it was in Edinburgh? Oh, of course it was in Edinburgh. Sugar. Yeah. No, do you know what? I'm having a Monday. I am.
Aren't we all?
Monday. Because that's where Parliament Day is, isn't it? You're underneath
It
the
is,
sea.
yes.
I'm
Yes.
such an idiot. Like, yeah, and the lovely wooden building as well. It's got, like, yeah, I'm a donkey. Don't mind me. Gosh, you're right up in that other bit.
Yep. Middle of
Wow.
nowhere.
Wow. And that's 4 hours on a train as well. God, that would be much longer than on a bus or in the car, wouldn't it?
Depends on traffic.
Okay. Are there even any roads up in the other end? Yes, there are.
Don't you go there.
Wow. Holy moly. So if you want to go from one bit to another, you have to go right round.
Not right round. There's a few bridges.
Wow.
Bridges. I don't know where you're talking about. Scotland, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as you can tell, I've not explored Scotland before. I've explored everywhere else but Scotland. But the reason why I've not been to Scotland is because I've been told it looks like Wales, and that's the reason why. Why would I travel all that way to Scotland when I could just stay here and have mini Scotland in Wales?
Oh,
Okay.
no, I've been.
No,
as far as
Scotland's got
Oldham.
that little bit, je ne sais quoi.
It really does. And like we went camping 2 summers ago, Mummy and me and the kids, and we only got as far north as Oban, but that's about as far as we could manage in the days, like to be able to see some things. That wasn't even far north at all.
Is it snowing in Scotland yet?
No.
Oh,
Well, not where I am, but the mountains do have it.
okay. Interesting. Maybe I'll come to Scotland for snow.
You could go skiing.
Yeah, right. Go to Edinburgh and go skiing. Can I go skiing in Edinburgh?
I doubt it.
Oh, maybe not
Yeah.
go to Edinburgh and go skiing then.
I think you'd have to go further.
The
They
only
might have
place
a dry
I
ski slope.
think they might have a dry ski slope. They might do. I'll have to have a look. I want to go to Edinburgh. I was meant to go to a Type 1 conference actually in Scotland. The Type 1, I can't remember what it's called, a couple of years ago, and then COVID happened, and then they did it virtually. And I just did it virtually. They do it 1 year in Scotland, 1 year in England, 1 year in, like they switch it out.
Oh, that was the Rise of the Machines, was that right, Dad?
No, not the Rise
Right,
of
the phone.
Machines. It's called. I will find out the name of it.
Or the T1, the family, or the
Yeah, the
T1,
family thing.
the weekend.
Yeah, the Type 1 family.
T1, no, not T1 Connect. Oh, I'm having a brain. I'm
I
having a
can't
Monday.
remember the name. I'm gonna find it.
I know
was-
what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was in Glasgow, and then it was in. It was actually in. Is there a place called Leamington Spa in
Yeah.
England? It was there.
Yeah.
Near
Yeah, I
Birmingham,
think-
wasn't it?
Yeah, he
Leamington
was there
Spa.
this year.
Yeah.
This year. That's not that far from Cardiff.
What, Leamington Spa?
Yeah, not too far. No, well, not Scotland, far away.
Isn't Birmingham, isn't it? Leamington Spa.
The other side of Birmingham, David.
Oh, see, I kind of knew where I was going here. I just about know how to walk around Cardiff, never mind anyone else. I think I was a really good tour guide, though, wasn't I, Tom and Claire?
Yeah, definitely.
No
You
comment.
should do
No
the
comment.
castle. You need to come now because the castle's really pretty now because they've got an ice skating rink around it and stuff. It's really pretty now.
Wow.
So
No,
should-
you were a decent tour guide. Yeah, you were good. So, guys, it is 26 minutes past 8. Tonight is open forum chat. There is literally kind of little agenda, but we haven't really prepped it because the agenda is yours. This is why we set up Diabetes Chat to talk and connect with people from all over the world. And as you guys are talking, it's great that we're connecting people in Scotland, and Belinda's listening on YouTube in Australia. I'm looking in the chats. All right, here I can see Philip from America and people all over England and different parts of Ireland, and it's really, really cool. So if you want, in the comments, just let us know where you're tuning in from, and on YouTube as well if you've got the chat box open. So this is where we're going to kind of sort of reflect and look back over the past week or so, what's been going on. There's a few things that we'll talk about, and if you want to come talk and share some things, then please do. And I've got a few things on the list here, but please, we can add to it. We're going to talk a little bit about World Diabetes Day, what it means to you, what did you see or find helpful. We'll talk a little bit about our Diabetes Chat conference that we did last week, the global launch of the pledge to end diabetes stigma, the Tech Collective report, and I can see Alison, Leslie, and Paul is listening in, who from Tech Collective will share a little. The hybrid closed loop chat you might have seen in the DSN forum and Partha. Mary is here, so she may share a little few bits, but tune in to the next one next Monday, 7 till 8, and then it follows the Diabetes Chat, so you can come on and talk about it. Doc Day was on this week, and some initiatives and communities launched in the past week or so. A couple that I've seen, My Diabetes Story, where Jay James from the Overtones, Tom Ball, and other guys have set up a community to share voices and stories, My Diabetes Story. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And our good friend James Ridgway, who's in the room listening, he set up his Omnipod group that he set up in Leicester, and he has launched their website this week, and we'll share some information about that. You can go check it out, and I believe there will be some virtual stuff going on and other exciting stuff, I'm sure. So check out that as well. So Mary, I reckon, because we have Alison and Leslie here, shall we kick off?
Well.
And Paul as well. I can see Paul. Hello, Paul. Should we anchor? Yeah, absolutely. And
Cool.
should we kick off the Tech Collective report? I literally have questions, so you can kind of see how bad I am as a host now when I have no questions. I don't know what to say. Jokes aside, is welcome along, Alison and Leslie and Kirsty on the panel. I see Paul. Please just tell us a little bit about what the Tech Collective is. Obviously, you had a report this week in Parliament, and tell us a little bit about the event and what happened and what's going to happen next. And this is your time to talk and share. And I know Ali and Leslie, we've been talking offline, and we're going to set up a chat next year with the guys from Diabetes Scotland, the new director, and hopefully a politician and all sorts. So lots of exciting stuff. So hello, Alison. Hello, Leslie. Hello, Kirsty. I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to listen and hopefully learn more stuff. And Paul. Hello.
Is Paul coming up to speak too? And maybe Stephen. Is Stephen still here?
He was. Oh, yes, he is. He jumped on before, so if he wants to come back, he's more than welcome to. And same with Paul. I will hand over to you, Ali and Leslie, Kirsty. Over to you guys.
Who wants to speak first?
Well, I just unmuted because I thought we're going to have an awkward silence because nobody wants to speak. For those that don't know, we're the Tech Collective in Scotland. We're considered the activists for the Diabetes Tech Can't Wait campaign. So we can be a bit more pushy with what we say. We don't have to toe company lines or sort of not upset people. So we've been active on Twitter, on Facebook, emailing MSPs. We went to our Parliament on Tuesday, and there was 20 MSPs there. It was hosted by Emma Harper, who's also type 1, and so's her sister, and so's her mum. So she's got an invested interest in this. And then for 2 hours, we talked to people, told them what we want, why we need it, and didn't get any of the food there for me.
And how did it go down, Leslie? Like, what was? I'm really interested in what the MSP said, like, because they're the ones that don't really know, and I know you have somebody who's really invested, but how did they react to, like, after the Kirsty's and all of you guys talking? Who spoke on it? I know Kirsty did, and did Stephen and his son talk, or?
No, we didn't talk. Lewis was just eating the canapes that Leslie didn't get hold of.
That's what it's all about, Stephen.
Good man, Lewis. They were clearly nice.
He was telling me, "Oh my God, Dad, I've eaten caviar. It's dead posh."
Oh, wow.
Don't tell everybody, Stephen. Come on.
I'm trying to whisper it so he doesn't hear me in case he runs in.
What was that to bolus for then, Stephen?
Oh, you're lucky if it was 3, but because he was that hyper, I hardly needed to take any insulin. I was the same. I think all of us were quite not stressed. We weren't quite stressed, but we're all a bit hyper when we were in there. I felt.
Yeah.
I certainly had a hypo then. Was you?
My blood sugar was in my boots the second I stepped over the threshold.
Oh my God!
You were talking though, Kirsty.
Yeah, I was the star. That's why I was hyper.
You were the superstar. We were just bouncing off walls. It was so fun.
We were the hecklers, Stephen, at the back, weren't we? With the consultants.
Did you have to heckle?
Well, not heckle, but you know, when you get that opportunity, I mean, what is absolutely amazing, and I think we've got to really, really appreciate, I mean, the fact that, you know, being part of the Diabetes Scotland thing, that having the opportunity to actually go to our parliament and have all these MSPs, cross-party groups, which, in answer to your question, Mary, they are all agreed that this technology is required, that, you know, everybody's agreeing to this.
Finally, some politicians agreeing with something.
Well, see, this is the thing, and it doesn't, you know, people say, look, politics doesn't come into it, and when it's, our health affects absolutely everybody, regardless of, you know, what you believe, or, you know, who you support, etc. And this is the thing, that it affects everybody, and nobody knows who it's going to affect in the future. And there's just so much at stake right now, you know, that if we didn't speak up when we had the opportunity, in fact, the deputy actually said as much, you know, a quote, it was actually my quote actually out there forward, that if they don't front up with the money now, when are we going to take this seriously? If we don't do it now, when are we gonna?
Yes.
You know, because we're just going to miss the boat. And we all really had to make the most of just trying to explain exactly what this means for us now and in the future, which is quite a hard ask, really, in the grand scheme of things, when you're kind of thrown in and you never have enough time. And there were so many lovely families and parents that of newly diagnosed children, you know, that I was going around, just felt compelled to give a big hug and just say, listen, it's going to be okay. And they just needed to hear that kind of thing, you know. And it was an emotional night, but you have to sort of say, right, come on, guys, we're all on the same team here. We all need to work together. And the consultants are just awesome. Seriously, I just love them to death, you know, because I've just known them for such a long time, and they know my family, and you just know that they are wanting the best for you. So I think we've kind of done what we can up till now, and it really is up to us just trying to keep pushing to make sure that the money is forthcoming.
Yeah,
And that's the
fact that they
important bit that's coming
listened.
up.
They listened and they agreed. They've agreed now that it's the right thing, and the it's just up to them now, or else you will come
Yeah.
back and say, "Listen, guys, where is the money?"
Yeah.
Well, something that I found really quite powerful was, yes, they were all in support of people with diabetes having access to tech when they want it, but a lot of them didn't realise the gravity of that for the majority of people with diabetes.
Yeah.
I think I think a lot of them just see it as a cost that they're willing to kind of agree that we should have it, but they didn't realise what that actually means to somebody.
And
That
also
was-
the savings that it's going to give, for future, there's a whole bunch of us who've been diabetic for a long time, that didn't have the same education, and we're not getting the technology as soon as people might in future. So, we can only ever minimize really as much as we can these chances of complications in the future through no fault of our own. So this is what we have to really make sure that they get that we're talking about a hell of a lot of people right now, who are missing out. But then there's a group also that in the future, won't have the same fight as we're going through right now, hopefully, for technology, and won't have those same higher risks as us, because we've gone a long time without it, and all we can do is really, I guess, all the figures are there. This is all being number crunched right now, for complications, the cost aspect. It's a no-brainer. We all agree that. But of course, the big issue is going to be, well, where are we going to find the money? And of course, that's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they need to find the money, and that's what I'm saying. They have to find it, because if they don't find it now,
No, you're right.
it's just this pretty basic, really simple, really, isn't it?
It is. Daniel told us that 10% of NHS Scotland's budget goes on diabetes care. 75% of that goes on treating complications.
Wow.
So, spend a little now, invest in the future, and save money down the line.
Yeah.
We think that 7.5% of our nation's budget goes on treating complications.
Yeah,
And
pretty
this
black and
is
white.
only for type 1 though. This tech is just for type 1. It's only
The way the report's been written, it's for people that use insulin.
Okay. Right.
So they are
And they're more
including
complex.
type 2s as well. And also, in the report, there is a woman who has, I think it's dementia, and she's type 2. So putting a Libra on her arm saves a lot of hassle for them.
Yeah.
They're not having to fight, or like having a child and hold them down to get a blood test.
So Leslie, is this like hybrid closed loop then in Scotland being channeled for all on insulin then? Is that right?
No,
Right.
because it's the broad spectrum of tech. So
Yeah,
that would
okay.
include CGM and smart pens.
Okay. Yeah. And that's
And can I also say thank you, Mary? Those stats you gave me the other day about children under 10 being diagnosed.
Oh yeah.
And the heart risks, I was quoting them on Tuesday night.
Happy days.
We have some questions coming through. Liz says, did you have some consultants, endos, diabetes medical professionals at the event? Did they speak as well as the MSPs? Can you just give us a little picture of who was in attendance of the night, and what was the sort of format of the night, and who spoke, and what was the outcome of the evening? a little bit more?
The only people that really spoke to everybody up at the front was 2 MSPs, our director, and Kirsty. So that was only about 20 minutes, half an hour maybe. And then the rest, we were just all mingling, talking to one another.
So we had the Emma Harper, who's an MSP, and she is, I think she's either the head or the co-convener of the cross-party group. There was Paul O'Kane, who's a co-convener of the cross-party group. John Kinnear, who's the National Director of Diabetes Scotland, and Jenny Minto, who's the First Minister for Health and Women's Health, and myself. So there was MSPs, a Diabetes Scotland presence, and a lived experience.
That sounds pretty fair, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there was also a number of consultants there, for instance, Professor Strachan, who Alison knows very well from the Western General in Edinburgh, was there. There was a number of the other diabetes staff from Lothian and from other areas. A lot of people from family groups with lived experience, myself and Lewis, obviously, from the Lothian family group, and I'm trying to think of who else, but there were loads of people there who are T1s, T2s, everybody that's fed into the report, and it was key to get those voices across. And I think Kirsty's speech was just amazing. Sorry, Kirsty, but I know I said it during the night, but you were just unbelievable. It was just on point. It was exactly what we needed. We needed people to hear.
Yeah, there was also government policy advisors there, and they said to me that this does make a difference. They are listening to what we're saying.
Yeah, and there was people from JDRF, and Brian Kennan was there, who's kind of like the Scottish equivalent to Partha Carr. He's not very active on Twitter, but
he's pretty active in the background, though.
Yeah, he's definitely our bigwig, and he's my consultant, so I'm very biased about him.
Oh, you lucky duck!
I know he's been my consultant since I was 15.
Oh, Kirsty! Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
From day one, I've just called him Brian. I don't think I've ever called him Dr. Kennan. But he is really, really nice, and his wife rather, works with my brother. So we're quite close with them.
That's lovely. It's really lovely. It sounds like there was all the strength was just leaned in, and it was just, there was no waffle, no room for waffle. There was no need for waffle. It was just very clear.
The only waffle, and I don't know if everyone that was there will agree with me with this, was from the health minister in her speech, because it was an event to talk about diabetes technology, and she spent a fair bit of it talking about prevention of type 2. Now, there definitely is a time and a place for that conversation, but it wasn't during her 5-minute speech.
Oh.
So I was a bit disappointed in that, but the rest of them were really good.
Yeah, I did wonder why she was going on about that.
I know.
Listen, we made up for that. We made up for that, Kirsty. So don't worry about that.
I was more just like
me and the Lothian consultants and a couple of us in the Tech Collective. Yeah. I think it just came to the point where we just had to be absolutely crystal clear where we're at and what we need. And, you know, because there's things obviously being put forward down in England as well. So we are kind of comparing with that and putting our side up here. So much so I think she was a bit, you know, I need a wee breather now, guys, if you don't mind. You know, which is fine, but it's just getting the message over. I think that was important, and it was an opportunity to do that. So, you know, I think we did well. Pats on backs, I think.
Yeah. One of the others, the final, one of the final ones that I've had, because I'll go quiet after this, is the fact that we had money put into that system apparently for us, but it's not actually been allocated. It seems it's been swallowed up within the system. And Leslie, I know you posted earlier about we should start making sure that any cash that we get or in future is ring fenced for diabetes tech, because we were hearing some horror stories about as a child newly diagnosed, same age as my son, and he's not going to get access to to get access to even the insulin pump until another 2 years, and that's now in this region that Alison and I stay in. And to me that's bonkers. It was 16 months for Lewis. Admittedly, that was 2 years ago, but to know that we've now extended that by another 6 to 8 months, that's just not right. We need
Just
the
like
money
that
now.
over here in Northern Ireland.
I can believe how bad it is over, and I've heard as well. Really, it's just
It's
the money needs to
crazy.
get in, and it just needs to get out there, because especially for kids somebody age 10 who has just been newly diagnosed with P6 over here, and then telling them you'll go on an insulin pump when you go into first year secondary school.
Oh gosh, it's so hard. That's awful.
It would be so hard. It'll be so hard for them. Whereas Lewis will, in 2 years' time, he'll get a new device. So that's when his first pump is up, when he's in the second half of first year. And for him, that'll just be like, right, I've got a new device. That's fine. I know exactly what I need to do. Bish bash bosh, move on.
Yeah.
But not for a kid that's been diagnosed now. So it's like almost like trying to get it pushed in to the system much quicker. Especially for kids in the younger. I mean, I'm not saying that we're not deserving either. Adults aren't deserving either, but you know what I mean. But the kids need it now.
The transitions are so important. Like you see it. Like I know you see it. Like having type 1 as well, Stephen. Like that, but you know how much is involved in it. Like,
yeah, totally.
And it's and how much is involved in it as a parent to support a child to be more independent. Like you're trying to be more independent. They need to be, because they're away from you, and they don't have the same support as they had in primary school. Like they're traveling around carrying heavier bags, trying to learn this new thing as well, and trying to take it on, because it's almost assumed that they should.
Yeah, and that's the key for me, is the funding needs to be there for that. It has to be rolled out quicker for kids. Definitely, don't get me wrong. I think when people need it, then they need access to it. Then they should have that access straight away. It's the whole point of what the NHS result was started on all those years ago. And I'm aware that it's expensive, but it's just trying to do the right thing at the right time. So
yeah,
I think we'll keep pushing. Well, I'll certainly keep pushing, especially with unloading for families like that, and for our stuff, but certainly throughout Scotland and throughout the UK. I think collectively as a group, we've got a lot more to do here. Even though, fair enough, NHS England and Wales are hopefully going to get the nice guidelines fully funded, and they get those targets hit within the next 6-7 years. But we need to do the same. It needs to be matched throughout the UK.
Yeah. We're watching over here, and I know our consultants and those in the Diabetes Network are watching, and it just takes time to come around to the next quarter, and then they'll start talking about it. But I was talking to somebody from Diabetes UK NI, and I talking to loads of them, because we were at the same night, like on World Diabetes Day, and we're aware everybody's aware of what's going on, but it's just we will lag behind it a bit, because we don't have the advanced CGM to even start with over here. We don't have Dexcom G6 funded. We don't have Guardian 4 funded for anybody. There's one trust that got a cost benefit analysis, which was phenomenal for lots of their families, but outside of that, it's not funded. And only for those who can't wear Libra, and like who are under 4. And there was a lot of very young children diagnosed, like since COVID. And so that 10% that allowance is within pump users in pediatrics, that just gets swallowed, like with those little teeny tots. And dear love them and their families. But it's great to hear, and to see what it looks like when you have Parliament at least on board, and now they just have to find the money. But like you say, it's important to get it ring fenced if it gets swallowed somewhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
Can I
it's
ask,
all in the report. It's all in there. All the recommendations that everyone has been putting their heads together. You know, all the recommendations.
what are some of the recommendations, Alison, and
Right.
what is the next step
Right.
now after the report's been published?
Well, I'm looking at page 9 on the report right here. So it's the targets aiming for 100% of children and 70% of adults living with type 1 diabetes to be using hybrid closed loop tech by 2030. Sustained ring-fenced funding to meet the demand for diabetes tech. That's what we've just been chatting about. Collaboration on national tech training for diabetes clinicians. Adequate staff in diabetes teams to support people to use tech. Fewer barriers to accessing tech, like mandatory structured training, education. Fair and inclusive prescribing of diabetes tech based on need. Access to tech for everyone who uses insulin and could benefit from tech, including those with type 2. Proactive approach to offering tech so no one has to fight for it. Better use of data, there you go, Mary, to tackle ethnic and socioeconomic inequalities.
Nice.
A permanent national tech onboarding pathway if the temporary pathway is successful. And this is where in Scotland we've got Anya pathway, which is again what Brian Kennan applied for and was super successful, and that is happening right now. And then procurement of tech determined by what people with diabetes want. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Oh, sounds perfect.
Working on that one. So, I mean, everybody agrees all this. It's in the report, so it's just show us the money. Pure and simple. Just got to, make sure that we let them know that we can't accept any less. But obviously, there's going to be negotiations, and we're back to hoping and praying.
What happens now then?
So there's
I think now that's where we're at now. The budget is going to be decided next month. The Scottish Government budget. We've actually got a tech collective meeting. If anybody wants to come and join that, it's a hybrid one at Scottish Parliament on the Tuesday the 12th. I don't know what the topic is. I think it might be about diabetes tech still. And then shortly after that is the government budget round there. So yeah, it feels quite a kind of tense time because there's so much work going on. You just don't really know how it's going to go, I guess. Really.
Yeah. Sean's message. He says, "How is the 70% of the adults calculated?" Or maybe the question is, why is it 70%?
Well, currently it's less than 20% of adults on insulin pumps in Scotland.
Wow.
It's 12 in England and Wales. That's what
really?
I think England are aiming for 50%.
So no, I think it's higher because
is it?
Yeah. So I don't know the percentage, but I've seen figures of 150,000. And what I saw there was something like 120 left. Is that what I thought? Is that 270? I'm having a Monday. I know it's 150.
This is by 2030, so it's going to be over.
Yeah, that's 7 years away.
Yeah.
So it's going to be slow, but it needs to start, and that's the main thing. And if they don't have the money, and if they don't have the money up front to start it, well, where's that going to end up? People will be waiting 15 years on a pump.
Can I just ask
insane.
a question? What is currently funded in Scotland for people living with diabetes, and what's not funded for people living with diabetes? Because I think from where I've seen online or on social media that people can get pumps in Scotland and things like that, but I don't know how true. Is it really hard to get a pump in Scotland, or what's like what's the criteria for people living with diabetes to get a pump in Scotland and things like that. I know one of my friends, it took them like quite a number of years to get T-Slim in Scotland. They managed to get it, but they wanted it when it was first launched out. They managed to get it in the end. I don't know how, but they were like one of the first people to have T-Slim in Scotland, or if not the first person. But what is like the do they kind of like keep it all quiet about diabetes technology in Scotland at the moment, or what is like the criteria at the moment for people with diabetes to get pumps in Scotland?
I think it's highly dependent on the area. The criteria is so it's much the same. We use the SIGN guidelines, which are the same as the NICE guidelines, basically. But like to compare, like me and Leslie, for example. So I live in the centre of Glasgow. I basically went in and asked for it and got it. Whereas Leslie lives in the Highlands, and there's one DSN that covers like all the Highlands and Islands, which is a massive, expansive area with so many people with type 1, and there's just not the staffing or education or resources to get everyone like up there that wants.
How is that even right?
It's not. It's just not though, and that's just how they're coping. And it's kind of been made normal by the NHS.
That's ridiculous. There's currently 70 people in Highland waiting on a pump.
Okay, so another quick question then, because I'm in Wales, it may be different here like it is in England. So where I live at the moment then, to get an insulin pump, I don't know how easy it is or not. It took me 3.5 years in Wales to get one, etc., wherever. But for me, when I go to a diabetes appointment, I can't go to a diabetes appointment when I want. It has to be on a set day. It has to be a Thursday, because that's the only time that the pump specialists are in. Is that the same in Scotland, that there's only like certain days that the pump trained nurses are in, and you've got to like scramble?
Same in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, we've got the same too.
Yeah, so it is the same. Yeah, no, it's just
not up here, because I see a consultant once every 12 to 18 months, and they don't really discuss the pump. They just take my basal rates.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have the email address and telephone number for my DSN.
Okay.
And she knows if I contact her by phone that I really do need help. I'm not just faffing about.
No, I was going to say, with me at the moment, I've got a email address and things like that. But for my appointments, I can't just say now I wanted to go on a Monday when it's my day off in work. I wouldn't be allowed. I gotta go on a Thursday to an appointment, because that's the only time that they're in. Or they're in all the time, but they have a set day for pump people, and it's only after a certain time. So after 2 o'clock on a Thursday is pump clinic, which is quite annoying.
Yeah, it's the same. It's because they it's the same ones doing the antenatal clinics. It's the same ones doing the complicated complex type 2, it's for MDI clinics, and then they have the hospital rounds, because they'll have inpatient diabetes to do rounds with. So they do.
There's a couple of comments coming through in this area that you guys are talking about. Sean says, same in England too. Well, it is in Derby, one pump clinic a week. And Julian says, the chat about tech access and funding is absolutely fabulous. But on a personal basis, I just like access to diabetes clinics, DSNs, dietitians. So no idea how my trust can implement adult tech if they can't even offer annual reviews. And that's a big point. And that's not criticizing the fabulous teams that are working endlessly to support us, because they're, you know what I mean, people are really, really, really trying. It's the bigger picture, really, isn't it? And it was interesting, Mary, a post you put up the other day about the A1Cs and how regular people go have their bloods done, and it is interesting, and how so many different responses. Some people like every 3 months, every 6 months, every year, and like some people I haven't had it in a while, and you know, it's
I know that post, like it was from Project Blue November, and I was just seeing it, and it like Stephen's in in the chat, like, and as somebody with type 1 and parenting a child that's got type 1 as well, I'm hoping Lewis is seen quarterly, but as an adult, you're not necessarily seen not necessarily. Most people aren't seen quarterly. And is it that different? Like when maybe it is like in a male body at certain times of your life and in a female body at certain times of your life, but when it's so variable, I see our type 1 very similarly, like at the minute. And I feel more on top of Johnny's diabetes, his type 1, than I do with mine. And it's literally only the frequency. And it was why I shared it. I thought, what does your care look like? How frequent is your care? And it had been on my mind to even the parent chat on the conference, Tom, too, because it was what I wanted to ask the other parents to show how frequent pediatric appointments are and have been all the way through COVID. That was like we were just stopped actually once. We missed one quarterly appointment in all of the lockdowns, and the rest was continued quarterly. And that first one, we had drive-through bloods, so they made sure that there was externalized on an A1C.
And it's a massive jump, isn't it? Come from pediatrics to adults. And if you went from that quarterly to one a year, it's a massive jump, isn't it?
Not even, it could be one every 18 months. Like
exactly. And not only it's a big jump for the person living with diabetes, but that person who's caring and supporting that person, it's a massive leap, isn't it? I'm sure we could talk about this endlessly. But thank you so much, Alison and Leslie and Kirsty and Stephen for sharing a little bit about the Amazing Tech Collective and seeing so many fabulous comments you'll have to go check out. And hopefully, and Liz was saying we need one in Ireland, and like I say, there's loads of people replying in the conversations that you guys are having. So thank you for taking the time for coming on tonight. It means a lot. Okie dokie. So that was the Amazing Tech Collective report and chat with the guys. We had a little bit of a chat talking about access and equality and talking about around the world. And let's talk a little bit about the conference that we had last week before we talk about other things. Did anyone tune into the conference last week? Was there anything in particular that you really enjoyed? Was there anything that you guys took away from it and want more discussions on? Because that's what we want to make sure going forward for next year is to keep listening to you guys and do more talks. And the whole point of the 6 hour was to try and cover as many topics as possible to raise as much awareness as possible for different types of diabetes, and to look at different perspectives. And you know what I mean, we could have 6 hour chats just for one session really, but it's sort of like taster sessions and hopefully help raise. Hey, what was that, Alice?
Actually, oh, sorry,
what did you say?
Oh, sorry, I forgot my mic was on. Apologies. I was just trying to work out if Finn would be home yet.
Don't worry.
Sorry. See, we never switch off as mums.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I was just thinking I should be checking if we got back okay. Sorry, guys.
No, all good. So anyone on the panel, or if you're on the chat, you can hashtag diabetes chat, or in the YouTube chat box, let us know what you thought of the diabetes chat conference, any particular sessions. Go on, Mary, and let us know what you enjoyed about it and what you think you want more of. What can we do to raise more awareness and advocate more discussions? What do you want? Tell us.
I really thought James's piece on all the types of diabetes was
excellent.
So excellent. Yeah, like you know, you think every day is a school day and you're learning loads all the time, and just we only know lots about our own.
Yeah.
And I just want to know more about the others, and I think that's why I'm not. I think that's what I get out of being a DDoC voice too, because it's introduced me to, like, it's made me pop out of my own little world. But that piece that James you did in the conference was just insightful. You could see in the comments, like, where others were saying, I didn't know there were so many types of diabetes, and what they meant. And it just was great. And if anybody hasn't seen that, go and watch it. Like, go and watch that bit. The rest of it, watch the whole thing, but like, go and watch that bit.
I think it really opened the fantastic conference, because something I want to continue to do to make sure we're inclusive for all types is raising all this awareness of different types of diabetes, and educating each other, learning from each other, hearing other lived experiences. And I think we've done reasonably well in this past 2 years, but I want to make sure for 2024 is that to have more talks about different types, and having amazing people like James come on and give us as much insights to it all. I think that's great, but also hearing the lived experiences. But I thought it really set us off for a great conference, and I was honored to have James do that to kick us off. So thank you so much, James. Like Mary says, go check it out, because it's on the YouTube channel. It's on all the timestamps, so you can listen back to it and go to your favorite bit or whatever bit you want to go to first. What else did you guys enjoy, or what did you take from the event, or what do you want more of? Go for it. Let us know. Everyone's quiet.
I'm trying not to hog the mic, but I thought the parent chat was interesting as well. Maybe just because I'm a parent too, but just hearing the other side, of the diagnosis, like, because we talk quite mechanically about our diagnosis, like when it happened, what was going on and all, but not really what's going on. It made me talk to my own mom at the weekend and talk to her about my diabetes, because I was in university, and I didn't even know, and I don't even know why I don't even remember this, but I know I forget bad things. But mom had to take me into the local out of hours for a hypo, to get a glucagon shot, and quite early on in my diagnosis, like, I didn't even know I'd ever had one of those orange injections until Saturday night. And but it was so
wow.
I know, isn't it nuts? Like, what else don't I remember?
I bet it's so out of date, right?
I'm going to throw you under the bus, Tom. You know, with the diabetes chat, it was virtual, which is great, and it works. Maybe this sounds really bad, or sounds really, but it was great that we could obviously use the YouTube chat and things like that to talk to people, but nothing beats in-person events. Maybe do something in person maybe next year.
Wow, man, put the pressure on. I think
I'll travel. It doesn't have to be in Wales. I'll come and travel.
It's certain things we've talked about briefly. We'll see. Who knows? We love doing events, and we want to raise as much awareness of diabetes and cover as many topics as possible. And as Belinda's just put on the YouTube, she says the best thing about the conference was the inclusivity. So our vision, our aim is to continue doing as many things as possible. We obviously do the JDRF in-person events. I spoke with Chris actually over email today, and going to catch up soon to talk about the 2024 program. I know Mary, we spoke with the team about putting a program on for next year. There's some ideas we're working on, and events in person. We'll discuss and we'll say. We talked about it, and there's a potential. We'll have to see. But that's where we can get the community involved and work together and get people sharing ideas and working together and stuff. And I must thank the team for helping out the last couple of weeks and helping put on the conference. Sean's listening. I can see Sean and Mary, a big help, as well as the other guys. But it was something I decided literally 3 weeks ago. Let's do it. And whereas the 24-hour one, when we did that, I started in like July. So these sort of things take time. So we'll see. Who knows? We'll see. Thank you for you throw me under the bus. But who knows? So
I think
if you guys,
it's just one of those things, Tom. Like and I, like you're absolutely right. Like the in-person events are so valuable, but
yeah,
coming from organizing similar ones, they take
yeah,
such an amount of resource to do one, and money
yeah.
and time to set up like that. And it's not your job. It would take away from diabetes chat.
And Diabetes Chat is completely voluntary. We have no sponsors, no partners, nothing. It's completely the 9 people that support run Diabetes Chat. It's all voluntary based. People put their hard work
They're
into it.
so
Yeah,
valuable.
definitely, I can understand that. It's just principalities.
But who knows?
over it.
There may be, you know what I mean. There may be things we can explore. But it's great to hear people's feedback.
Yeah.
And thoughts. We see where we go. But I think just to finish that section, then appreciate all the guest speakers. It was a really good event, lots of topic coverage, and hopefully it starts many more discussions on events coming into the calendar next year. Like I said, I want to talk more about different types of diabetes, type 2, and an event that I wanted to do this year, but I just haven't had the time is one of our Diabetes Chat Stories events next year will be about the different types of diabetes. I think that's something, hopefully February, March time, a virtual event, which will be different to this Spaces, which will talk about all different types of diabetes and whether we get James on to do something or we use his amazing starter presentation again, and we'll have more discussions with people living with diabetes and hearing their stories and their journeys and how they manage their particular diabetes type. And if anyone wants to get involved in that, if you want to get involved, just give me a shout, send me a message, and or if you know someone who may be interested or whatever and has a different type of diabetes, and get involved. We want to try and cover as much as we can. But again, thanks to everyone that joined the conference or listened back. It was really cool. Okay. So if anyone else wants to lead on this open forum chat, please you can come say hi or request a mic or tweet along. I want you guys to have your thoughts and get involved. You don't want to be hearing me all night. Maybe before, hopefully, we open up further, Mary, did you want to just briefly mention about the global launch of the Pledge for End Diabetes Stigma? And then I'll talk a little bit about the initiatives and communities that I've launched, and then we'll open up further if anyone else wants to talk and whatever. We'll go from there. Does that sound good?
Okay, but I only got to the start of it because I couldn't get logged in, and then I had to do my school run, and then I went into work, so I have to still catch up on the end of it. I can do an update on the DSN forum one.
Yeah.
Will that work?
Yeah.
And I know that it was it's more hybrid closed loop chat, but it's not just about hybrid closed loop, because we were talking, not we, because I wasn't talking on it, but I in the chat, like there were lots of questions about the like how it was going to be rolled out and how they how they manage the numbers too, and who was the priority. So they did talk about the priority being children first, because it's for future proofing and there's that incremental benefit, but like along with what's going on with Scotland and pregnancy, is the next priority, because that's 2 people in one go. And then there's severe mental illness, adolescents, and those already on pumps without good control. And I asked about how difficult it has been to start people on pumps from the last TA, and if that would penalize people, like because of the time involved and like success rates and things like that. And that was where Partha came back and said, like, there definitely won't be anybody penalized, like for how hard it is to onboard people on pumps. There was talk about the education, how they were going to do that and still meet their targets, because there's a lot involved, and there's the work with the DTN, the Diabetes Technology Network, with Alistair Lum, and Emma is part of that. So it'll be lots of online learning, and anybody onboarded onto hybrid closed loop recently, like it's all, or onto an insulin pump even recently, it's all online. So in our conference as well, we kind of talked as well about people with diabetes, with type 1, being more involved in, like in other countries, like diabetes educators. And on Monday night with us, Partha said, like, it is about like the liability, but with training, and he kind of touched on that again with the DSN forum, including us. If a bunch of us get trained, they're exploring all different things for the education side of it. Somebody asked a question actually about type 3C, and type 3C is say when your pancreas is removed. James has much better explanation on it. Go look at the conference. But they aren't making any insulin. They can't. They don't have a pancreas, or something has caused their pancreas to stop working. They also have to take digestive enzymes. They have a harder life, and yet they're not included. But I've written down hybrid closed loop, bear with us, for type 3C. And then there were questions. I think was Martin in the question, asking questions. Martin Sevier, I think he was. I'm nearly sure he was. Like, but older age, technology, and I remember Partha saying that they still haven't got nursing homes online with Libra just yet. But like, this is all going to be the gold standard for type 1 care, and this is coming.
And if you missed that, there is another event next Monday night, 7 till 8 p.m. I believe the tickets are still available, so go check that on the DSN forum Twitter account. So yeah, that is part 2, and then I believe after that, the videos will be released on social media and stuff, so people can go check it out and watch both episodes. And following that, on Monday, we have the diabetes chat. So if you want to come and talk a little bit about it, obviously there's a chat box on that Zoom link. I guess I wasn't there last week, but people were obviously talking. But if you want to then come over to us at 8, you can then talk further about it with the community. And then we'll have Dr. Tom Crabtree on next week as well. So if you do have any questions about technology or other bits, I'm sure you can maybe ask him as well. Brilliant, thank you, Mary. And that gives a little overview of that. So also wanted to acknowledge some of the initiatives and communities that have been working in the background the last couple of weeks and months, and have launched websites and initiatives online, and I know Di's going to mention briefly in a minute. Also wanted to talk about James and his peer support community. He set one up. So James, who's listening, is a DSN and Eden educator. Lives with type 1 diabetes. Was on pen and then on pump, Omnipod, and now is doing DIY. He set up a local community Omnipod podding peer support group for his area in Leicester, and they've launched a website which has some information about the community, what peer support is, and some information about Omnipods and things like that. Some questions, and I'm sure you'll see the website grow over time. And I can see James actually requesting to speak, and I'm probably not doing him enough justice here, and I'm sure he will be able to explain it so much way better than me. But check it out, podding.co.uk. It's absolutely amazing what James has been doing, has set up, and here he is now, James. Hello, James.
Hello. Sorry,
Hiya.
I was just I'm doing the kitchen right now, but I can still talk.
Go for it. Hello.
Hello. I just heard bits about the virtual conference and stuff, and I just heard about the podding group as well, and I thought, oh, I just might as well pop on while
come say hello. Yeah.
While doing the kitchen. How are you all?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, it's really nice tonight. Just kind of chilling, hanging out, reflecting back the last couple of weeks. And it's a decent turnout. There's loads of people listening and joining the panel and sharing, and we're kind of like plugging all the amazing stuff that's been happening, and then hopefully later we'll just talk about anything and everything. But did you want to share a little bit about your community and how it came about and why it's set up and what you've done now? You've made a website, and what's the sort of what's next? What's the ideas?
Oh, love to. I could talk forever about the podding group. So yeah, the podding peer support group was started up in February of this year, and it was a request from our service lead who wanted to have a little chat with me, and that was in January of this year. Sorry for the little clattering and stuff. And he said, James, we're seeing more people in our area starting on Omnipod, and that's because a certain a certain company stopped producing their insulin pumps, and so a lot of people switched over to Omnipod, and so there became a substantial rise in the number of people using it, and those who were using it had then started to request or ask the question around support beyond healthcare professionals. And I did a conference last week which raised some really nice and interesting comments around peer support in general and stuff. And the first bit I said was to the audience, which was mainly HCPs, healthcare professionals, was on average, well, I suppose the good question to yourselves is, on average per year, how many hours do you as people with diabetes spend with a healthcare professional or professionals? How many hours would you say it is on average? Any guesses?
Oh, come on. Anyone listening in right now, you can message it or...
What's the frequency, James?
On average, how many hours per year do we as healthcare professionals, we as patients or people with diabetes spend with a healthcare professionals on average?
I reckon
less than an hour.
Less than an hour.
Yeah.
Over a year, because you have 2 appointments. Would they be half an hour each?
It's a good one. It's a good one, Clipper, actually.
And actually, since lockdown, it's 9 months apart. So, yeah, definitely less than an hour. To do with type 1.
Are we talking about all appointments, James? So, like, senior diabetes nurse, your consultant, dietitian.
Yeah, they haven't really kind of made it specific. It's from Diabetes UK, so they kind of generalize it in terms of kind of general diabetes support, and they just put an average on it.
Mine was 15 minutes in 18 months.
Wow. What about you, Claire? What do you reckon?
About half an hour.
Okay. Less than Philip. Higher, lower. We're playing what's that game called?
Bruce's Price is Right. That's what it is.
Right.
Yes. Higher, lower, David. Half an hour. Where are you going? 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I go into my literally. I go in there. They do check my HbA1c. That's about it. They check my my stuff on wherever I upload it to. Tell me it's all okay, and then tell me to go. And since starting my T Slim pump, when did I start it? I don't even know. I've not even had a follow-up appointment or any chats with my diabetes team about it. I started it by myself, went to a pump ritual thing, 10 minutes, and I've just been left to it. So
wow,
10 minutes is my guess.
Go on, Mark. What are you reckoning?
I'm going to say 2 hours because my consultant is pretty good. He actually sees us for about half an hour, and it's meant to be every 6 months, but it hasn't been for a while. Sorry, I'm doing a high blood sugar reducing walk at the moment, so I'll speak in a bit.
This is what is great about Diabetes Chat is literally people are literally in their own lives doing their own thing. You got Mr. Ridgway doing the dishes.
Can you actually hear the water running right now?
Yeah. Mark's on his run. Mary's probably in a bath, chilling. What about you, Alison?
I'm trying to round up like small Murphys here now for bed.
Bless you. What about you, Alison? What do you reckon? We've lost Alison, I think. What about you, Richard? Let's bring you in. Rich, hello. Maybe not. Leslie, okay, any final thoughts before James gives us the yes?
If it's just a consultant, I'd say 10 minutes.
Yes. You're with me. You're one of us.
I spend longer getting my bloods drawn.
Depends on who's drawing them.
Yeah.
I'm a difficult stick. I took them 45 minutes once.
Wow. Going from left to right arm.
And the back of the hand they ended up going for.
Oh, wow. What about you, Kirsty? What do you reckon? How long time do you spend with your healthcare professional team, do you reckon?
Sorry, I was on the other side of the room there.
It's all right.
How long do I spend with the team? So I get an appointment sent through to go in and get done, my eyes and feet checked, that sort of thing. And then a week later, the consultant phones me. So it's a 5-minute conversation over the phone. The actual appointment it's not with somebody from the diabetes team. It's from a general nurse. So that's been since COVID that they've been doing that, and I'm not really sad of it.
So James, come on, carry on, let us know.
Yeah, I'm intrigued what the average is because
it's
I've never known anybody get these averages.
So, according to Diabetes UK, the average is 3 hours. So,
wow.
You're all way under. I know. I suppose
but I don't believe that. I have to be totally honest. Unless you're including a lot of pediatrics.
No, it's not, we wouldn't even well, maybe in pediatrics it could be, but you'd have longer appointments, but they wouldn't be an hour.
I suppose they're basing it on. They're not really saying it too specific on the types of appointments, are they? As well, so you could have I don't know, 15 minutes with a consultant, and then however many hours for your annual screening and things. They've not really specified the amount of time. You know, the consultations that I do in my clinic, they're sort of half an hour with a patient. So, and that's only one aspect of it, really, for a patient's journey. And it sounds like many are sadly not given the right amount of support. Everyone needs that support, but I mean, 3 hours itself is still not much time, really, when you think about it, because then it calculates to, what was it? Did I say 8,700?
It's 8,730 something, or
57? Yeah, 57 hours of pure self-management.
But can I say, my thing is, even when I'm having my appointments, I'm still self-managing.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? It's like I don't hand it over to them for the...
No. But obviously that the support from the healthcare professionals, you know, would have been at some point in one's diagnosis or one's lifespan of living with diabetes would have been instrumental, really.
We did have a few more comments on the hashtag. Lisa said 4 hours. Liz says, here in Ireland, I get one appointment maybe every 12 months for maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. Gillian says 2 10-minute GP appointments a year, a 1 30-minute endo appointment every 2 years. Other than when she was diagnosed, not seen a DSN and not been offered a dietitian appointment. GP nurse does an annual review. But yeah, and Lisa says the consultations we have for my daughter is 1 hour every 3 months, with 15-minute consultant, 15-minute nurse, 15-minute dietitian, and 15-minute psychologist available. Wow, is that a whole package? So you've got 4 people to see in that hour. Wow.
I was going to say, with my
that is incredible.
I go into one room and I've got like a dietitian there and my diabetes nurse, and then after I finish that, I'll see the consultant. But it's about 10 minutes. But I do get to see 3 different people, but 2 of them are in one room, if that makes sense.
But mine aren't. I literally will. Well, since lockdown, it's been telephone calls. But even if they're in person, it's just with the consultant. I've not seen a dietitian for ages. But then I don't. It's not that I feel I need to either. So.
No, I don't get what the whole dietitian thing is. It confuses me because I sit in this room with the diabetes nurse. The dietitian's just sat there looking confused, and I'm looking at this diabetes nurse like, "What are you doing?" And then he's like, "Have you got your data uploaded?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then they're like, "Okay, everything looks okay. Go see the consultant." So I go see the consultant, and he's like, "Yeah, you're fine." And I'm like, "Okay, this was a waste of 10 minutes of my life that I'm never going to get back." But it's nice to not be forgotten and left in the system, if that makes sense. It's nice that they do send me a letter now and again to pop in and see them. But yeah.
But I use mine more from it's my appointments. So because most of my results and stuff are fine, and like you say, it's not that I need, I don't think they feel they need to input loads. But before I go, in the couple of weeks or so before, I'll jot down anything that I think of. So I might be asking them about a new insulin or what they think about that. So actually, probably I'm the person asking the questions because I might not see them for long, which I don't, but I want to get the most benefit from that.
Yeah.
And I suppose we're only thinking of
results. Do you know what I mean? I can tell if they're all right or not.
I'm just thinking as well, in my clinic that I do, I have a joint one with a dietitian, and they are the most awesome professionals to be alongside in a clinic, and they give it's just a really nice collaboration to have 2 sets of professionals in one room. And I suppose if we're looking at the audience of this space alone, we are quite a high minority, if not all. I'm just having a look, of white Caucasian. And if we think about like Leicester, my own area, has around 50% is of different ethnicities, and that could consist of people who have language barriers. So that could firstly cause kind of a challenge or difficulty with translation as well, and that adds into the time. Also comorbidities as well. So the longer that you live with diabetes for, then that's going to add to the complexity of the potential for increased risk of complications, and then trying to do that in a consultation be quite challenging at times as well. And what you were saying, David, there as well, is that if dietitian isn't needed for you at that point, it might well be for another person. And I guess it's all about that, making sure you know why they're there for you. And if you feel the need for it, then you should definitely request one, if you know, or whoever at that point as well. I think communication is the key thing from both parties as well.
I think what I would have, like, if they basically told me, so the diabetes nurse deals with this part of your diabetes, the dietitian deals with this part of your diabetes, your consultant deals with this part. Luckily, I know what they're all there for. But I know a lot of people that go to my clinics then are like, what even is the dietitian there for? And I'm like, if you've got any questions about your eating or this and that, then that's pretty much what they're there for. But my old dietitian, which I had, this new one that I've got, I've not really spoken to them much, but my old one was very like into insulin adjustments, knowing what, like, they were basically a diabetes nurse and a dietitian, because they learned so much about the insulin adjustments and things was going into these clinics with diabetes nurses. So it was quite nice that they were all clued up on it as well. And I think at the moment, because we've got this new dietitian that's in training, maybe they just sitting in at the moment and just observing at the moment, and maybe aren't confident enough yet to ask questions or things like that. And maybe because I'm quite clued up with my diabetes, that I don't really need to ask the questions as of yet. I know if I do need to ask the questions, at least they're there for me when I need to ask those questions. But yeah, it's very interesting concept. I mean, yeah.
And they're probably learning from you as well, because you are the expert patient, and you know, they're probably gaining a lot of insight from yourself. And you're totally right, David. There's going to be many people in different kind of level of experience. I've got a range of dietitians who are at different kind of levels of expertise, and some who are Daphne trainers and are able to do total what we call resets, where they'll, you know, some people really struggling with their carb counting and their basal rates or their long-acting insulin adjustments, and we'll do a reset, kind of just go from a blanket approach, and then, you know, there's some dietitians who know how to do that, and sometimes a dietitian is not always needed. But I tell you, in my clinic it works wonderfully. It's brilliant, because there's things that they'll pick up on that I've not quite been able to, because I'll be concentrating on X, Y, and Z, and I think if we can have a bit of a MDT approach, as we call it, a multidisciplinary one, it works really nicely. Not always, but sometimes.
No, definitely. I think when I first started on my insulin pump, it was really handy to have them both there. But now I feel like I'm taking that away from somebody because they're there all the time and I'm there, and I don't need them there all the time. But again, with our appointments, we get given a time, and that time slot's our time slot, if that makes sense. But then if you go over, you're making people wait and this and that. And that's why I guess maybe that's why I just take 10 minutes. I mean, if I wanted to take longer, I guess I could. But I feel like because I don't need it at that time, or I don't need an appointment at that time, I go to get my bloods done, and that's the only reason why I go. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what's going on with my bloods. But yeah, it's just I don't need to see them. If I need to speak to them, then I'll send them an email or ring them. I just feel like I'm wasting that time slot, which I know we're all allowed these time slots and things like that. But because I've got the peer support, I've got research, like I can find stuff out online and things like that. I feel like I don't need to see them, but they clearly want to see me, which is nice.
Belinda's commented on YouTube and says, how much do you reckon as well of that 3 hours is emotional health support as well? And that is so, so important, isn't it? Our mental health.
I think it's quite interesting, the multidisciplinary, because the nice thing about having everybody there is that if I did want to see a dietitian or something, I would then have to make another appointment. Whereas at least if it's multidisciplinary, at least you can ask that question, sort that thing out at that appointment. Do you know what I mean? Rather than it drag on.
No, definitely. It is nice to have them all there. It does work if you need them there. But again, with me, I just feel like I'm stealing their time, if that makes sense. That they could spend that time with somebody else because I don't need them. But at the same time, they've obviously got a time slot for me, but I just feel like I'm stealing it from somebody. But that's just me. But that's because I'm clued up and I've got social media and I've got like all this stuff that I'm lucky that some patients may not ever use. But yeah, it's a very complicated one.
Certainly in when I'm in clinic with my dietitians sometimes they'll always just ask the question to the person first and ask them how they're doing, and by the time they've answered that, usually I can identify and we can identify what's going on. Are things okay? Are things not okay? What aspect is not going okay for them? And from there we can mold the appointment to what suits them, rather than me going, okay, let's have a look at your time in range. That's usually like halfway through the appointment I'll go, okay, now let's have a look at this. And sometimes it's not even brought up in the consultation. Sometimes, if it's, especially when it comes to psychological support, I guess that's my priority right there, is that aspect. Because I mean, it was Friday just gone actually, and asked how a person was, and they had an amputation about a month ago, and I had to do a telephone consultation because they couldn't attend the face-to-face. And I said, how are you feeling? And they said, I feel like I'm shut in. Yes, I can walk around the house, but I don't have a life now. I've got a lovely husband who supports me. But and it was quite emotional. And I said, I can imagine diabetes is on the back burner right now. And they said, yeah, it really is. So then what led on to that was a really good chat about how we can support them. And they never had a diagnosis of depression, but they had symptoms of it. And then from there it led on to kind of a task to the GP to assess them for symptoms, for possible depression, and also offering of what we call Vita Health, which is a talking therapy service. So that appointment where you think diabetes is the thing, it really always isn't. Sometimes it's, you've got to work on the things that are a priority for that person at the moment in time. I remember a person coming into clinic, and they said that they've been really struggling with supporting their wife who's dependent on carers, and they weren't happy with they said that they're having to support them more, and they're struggling. So then I had to ring social services, not about the husband, but about the fact that the support for the wife wasn't enough, and it was causing an impact on the husband, and that impact was then causing a negative impact on their diabetes. So it's like a domino effect. So without me just concentrating on time and range and HbA1c, that's not going to get anywhere in a yes, it may, but I always think you've got to look at what I call the biopsychosocial factors rather than a medical model. And in that, when we've got an MDT, we can really, as I say, mold the appointment, and it works magically. I guess that's my way of doing a consultation, is just thinking about everything about the person which can take time, but then I'm hoping it makes a difference each time, really.
No, definitely sounds it. I mean, with your clinics, then, do you have a dietitian, a what are they called? Psychologist? That's the word I was looking for. And yourself, or is it just you and a dietitian?
So it's me and a dietitian, but we will make the psychological well-being aspect a priority right from the get-go. How are you? You know, how are things? And from there I can mold it, because we only have one or two, I think, in the actual diabetes center itself, which is more for research based, that are specialists in diabetes and psychological well-being and mental health. We don't have people that are clinical in that area, like Dr. Rose Stewart, for example. You know, there's very few of them, and I think that some people who are specialists in mental health but not expertise in diabetes, that sometimes can meet one need, but it can't meet, for example, a diabetes distress. Some people find it quite hard to gain that extra support, because the person who's in, you know, specialist in mental health doesn't necessarily fully understand the implications or the impact of a diabetes distress situation. So no, we try, and we'd love it having someone who is specialist in.
I think a lot of specialists would love it, wouldn't they? And like you said, it's just that one question to begin with. Hi, how are you? Instead of going straight in with the basic sheet, which is the tick box sheet, which I like to call it, where it's your HbA1c's, this. It's that just simple question. How are you feeling, or how are you doing today? Instead of leading in with the diabetes chat to begin with, that can make a clinic a lot more different, I find. And a lot of people I've spoke to living with diabetes, it seems more the norm now that diabetes specialist nurses, or diet, whatever you want to call them, will ask the patient how they're doing now than a couple of years ago, where it was just that tick box sheet. But it seems a lot more dietitians are exploring better options to deal with their patients, or break the barrier that we are only there for diabetes and things like that, which is quite nice to see.
Yeah,
I'll come to your clinic.
If you come into Leicester, you're more than welcome to. But I totally 100% agree on what you're saying, because, you know, I've as myself being a person with type 1, I guess I've had rubbish appointments before, where a doctor said, so how are you going to improve your diabetes? And I challenged them. I said, excuse me, it's really hard to live with type 1 diabetes, and I myself was going through an episode of diabetes distress at that point. I was coming home a few times a week crying, and I didn't know what was going on, and it was only support of my family and friends and work colleagues that kind of got me through it, really. And then I remember in that same consultation, actually, the doctor kind of pressing on or pointing at the number of my BMI, which actually they miscalculated, say, you need to bring this down. Bear in mind, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an underactive thyroid condition, basically, where it's an autoimmune cause. And as my practice nurse put it, is you have to sort that out before we can really cause an effect to the glucose levels. And that was a few years ago anyway. But certainly for me, as a person living with it, I think it's the most important thing, really, is that psychological aspect. 100%.
No, I was going to say, I don't even think my diabetes team actually knew that I had a type 1 disordered eating when I was going through it, because they never questioned anything like that when I was going through it, and I obviously hid it from them, just because I didn't want to open up about it and things like that. And I think the only time they actually realized that it was or they found out I had it was when I spoke up about it in the papers and things like that, when I dealt with it all by myself because of peer support and things like that. But like I say, you saying that simple question, how are you, maybe would have broken down the barrier, and I would have turned around and been like, yeah, things are a bit tough, this, but there was none of that at the time. Things are improving though, and it's the little changes that eventually will bring it all together.
So James, brilliant discussion, guys. Absolutely amazing. So lead us on a little bit, James, of the pod and peer support group then that you formed, and what have you done? And obviously you launched the website for World Diabetes Day, right?
Yeah, so yeah, went off a bit of a tangent there, but quite a nice tangent, I suppose, wasn't it?
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Very
following
important.
Say again.
It's very important, mate. Honestly, I think having supportive healthcare professionals who have them starting conversations and allow that person to feel comfortable and building that relationship and trust is so important, rather than feeling maybe the pressure of someone said, oh, let's have a look at this graph and let's have a look at this straight away and you need to do better, or what you're going to do. Like, I think the approach that you guys are having is really, really important, and it's great that you guys have discussed it tonight. Brilliant.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so when I had the initial discussion with my service lead, who said, do you want to start a peer support group? And I was like, yeah, go on then. Because he said, you're using Omnipod, so I want to start a pump specific groups, was his idea. In which I said, wouldn't you want to do more of a general one? He said, no, I want to start pump specific ones. It was originally his idea. And he said, do you want to go for it? I said, yeah, go for it. And I said, when? He said, oh, in a few weeks. I was like, okay, let's give it a go then. And we had about 4, so that was in February. So we had about 4 other people and me, plus the service lead. And then we have monthly meetups at the Diabetes Centre, where we kind of base it on a hot topic. And then, and it's not always like around the actual pump device itself. We'll talk about kind of life in general, about diabetes, on like managing work and stress or hypos, and we'll talk about how the use of pump therapy can help or hinder or whatever at that point in time. And we've had some events where we've gone out to eat, and it was nice, that one, because we all kind of had to guesstimate our meals, and everyone, you know, talking about how they do it, and it was just lovely. That was and they just get better and better as they go on. And the last one was just so good, where we hit a bunch of balloons to raise awareness of for diabetes. Diabetes Awareness Month, wasn't it? But where you've got the blue balloon challenge, though, trying to buy a bag of just pure blue balloons is hard to get hold of. So they were multicolored, but still balloons nevertheless. And in that session, there was a GP, a female GP actually, and it was quite impactful what she said. Where she's Muslim, and she said that she had never been around other people with diabetes before, because in her culture, she was always got told, especially from a child, to keep it hidden. And yeah, she said, this is the first time I've actually been around other people with diabetes. And at the end of the session, I said, how was it? She said it was liberating. And yeah, she said she'd come back again. So in addition to the face-to-face meetups, which I do a hybrid now, so they can join online as well as face-to-face. We have a private WhatsApp group, so we've got about 18 people part of the podding group now, which is a good 20% of the total population, I think, between 10 and 20% anyway. And I tell you what, even though it doesn't sound many, it gets harder and harder, but more excitingly challenging to facilitate. So I lead the discussions and stuff, and I'll get the kind of everything going. I'll ask them key questions to get the conversation going. And the WhatsApp group's brilliant, because it's a way of, I call it, of connecting at times of disconnection. So, you know, people will mess each other at, you know, God knows what time at night, or, you know, during the weekends, and it's this time of disconnection where you know, you're not together in person, or you haven't got your HCP there. So yeah, so it's lovely. And then so yeah, I released, I wanted to give something extra as well, so I created a website which I self-fund, and I created myself, which you can check out. You can go to podding.co.uk and you can see all about the group. And we did a a podcast episode on our Eden Chats podcast, and we had in 4 of the other podders, 4 amazing podders, come to it, where we just spoke about peer support and the benefit of them. And one person said, it's peer support's like not feeling alone. Another person, I remember them saying, it's before they came to peer support, it was like they were in a boat where they only had one paddle and going around in circles. And then when they joined peer support, they finally felt that they had 2, 3, 4, 5 people coming in the boat with them with that extra paddle or paddles, and finally feeling like they can go a certain direction, which really hits home. And there's just lovely feedback. But in addition to that, I ask people to complete what I call a paid score questionnaire, which identifies levels of diabetes distress, and also a knowledge and confidence questionnaire about self-managing diabetes, the use of insulin pump therapy, and the use of Omnipod. And we found that the baseline data upon when they come into it is really high of knowledge and confidence, but the distress levels are really high. So it doesn't matter how much experience that someone has, it's still really hard to live with this condition. And that support is essential, really. And I think I've, since doing it, I found I love what I do as an educator and a diabetes nurse, but I really love what I do as a peer support facilitator, or whatever you call it. And I just want to see more of it, locally and nationally. There has to be more of it, because it's just so important. And we have a plan in the diabetes centre as to how we can try and make that happen. That's for sure. So that's kind of that, really. Oh, and I wanted to mention, because you said about other things that were launched, Tom, on diabetes, Diabetes Day, and there was a really good one actually, which is worth a listen. It's a new podcast that was released by Exeter diabetes team. So Maggie Shepherd, the amazing Maggie Shepherd, and one of her colleagues launched it, and they're doing this. It's kind of a really nice way of doing a podcast where they give education through the podcast episodes, and it's all about obviously monogenic types of diabetes. So I spoke about it at the virtual conference, and they're doing a series. The first series is on neonatal diabetes, and they're calling the podcast 1 in 6 billion, because there's 6 billion genes, and only one genetic change causes this monogenic diabetes, basically. And in this, the first episode was around, I think, their first case of neonatal diabetes, so diabetes diagnosed in less than 6 months. And for the years, this person, so this mum, amazing mum, supporting her son called Jack for many years, started on insulin, and she found this journal, or her friend found this journal article of this person, this young boy in Rotterdam, who was diagnosed with this neonatal diabetes. And she showed her consultant saying, this is Jack, this is exactly the same. And the boy in Rotterdam changed from insulin pump therapy to glibenclamide, which is a type of sulfonylurea, which is a tablet which basically stimulates the pancreas to get it kicking in action. And then the consultant said, it's all on the podcast episode, it's amazing, but the consultant said, no, you just got to live with the life of what it is at the moment, just get used to insulin pump, insulin injections, etc. And she managed to find the team in Exeter, who were at Bristol at the time, and they did genetic testing. They said that the person actually, Jack himself, had the same exact genetic change as the boy in Rotterdam, and was then diagnosed with neonatal diabetes and came off the insulin injections and started on the sulfonylurea tablet itself. And it's so amazing to listen to. I just wanted to say that that's worth, I think it's about 50 minutes, but it's worth 50 minutes of your time, because you'll laugh and you'll cry, and it's just a mixture of emotions. Just have a listen, is what I'd say to that. Sorry, a bit of a tangent there.
It's funny you should mention that, James, because I was on a train most of the afternoon and then standing at Rugby for an hour and a half, but hey. And I found it and I was listening to it. I'm not at the end of it yet. I think I've got about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour to go. And it is amazing, isn't it?
It really is, isn't it? And I loved it where she said about like the change in Jack, wasn't it? When he wasn't having the severe hypos anymore and he was able to start talking, and the bit where she said about him leaving nursery and then saying in front of the mum at the first time, you know, hi mummy, or love you mummy, or something. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. It's so worth a watch because again, it's just a very different type of diabetes, and it just shows you there's more than just type 1 and type 2. And it's brilliant, isn't it, Flipper?
No,
I just reshared the link.
I downloaded it, so let me just have a look at the downloads. But I think, James, you had the title there, didn't you?
I shared the link.
One in 6 billion, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
1
shared
in
the
6
link.
billion.
I just shared the link there with DiabetesChat. I think it should be in underneath the comments of it.
I just
hopefully.
I just
You're a
retweeted
technical
it.
person, Mary. I'm just reading out the title.
Dream Team. I'll definitely go check that out. Good shout there, guys. And that's what's been great tonight, is just talking and sharing all these amazing initiatives and communities that people are doing and part of. And it's the bigger picture here is supporting people living with diabetes. That's the goal, I guess. That we are here to help the people living with diabetes, but all them other people who are supporting us living with diabetes, the partners, the parents, the siblings, carers, educators, all amazing people. And there's so many fantastic communities around on different social media platforms. And I've always said it is just, if you find something and you feel comfortable, connect with it and embrace it as much as you feel comfortable, and reach out and just talk and go hear these amazing podcasts and things. It's really important, and hopefully it'll help you guys. So yeah,
I just wanted to say also
before we move on, can I ask James a question?
Go on.
Of course.
James, I don't know if you're going to know the answer or not, because I don't know how much, obviously, if it's so rare. But I find it quite intriguing that both of the children, so the one in Rotterdam and the lady's son, both obviously had other disabilities.
Yes.
Would you know, is that the same gene that's caused the same problems, or was it just coincidence that both of them had additional needs on top of the neonatal? Because how far I've got through, they've never actually specified it. They just said that the disability that the son hadn't been caused by the severe hypos. And I just find it so intriguing that both children, by the sounds of it, had similar additional needs.
Yeah, no, I'm not 100% sure either, because I know I've known one other person to have neonatal diabetes, and they themselves actually didn't have any form of learning disability or difficulty, actually. So I'm not too sure, actually.
Because they just said it can be. It was exactly the same mutation, which inferred to me that some other people haven't got exactly. Do you know what I mean? You can have a mutated gene, but slightly different. So I don't personally know, but I know of somebody who was diagnosed later in life and they haven't got any disability. But I just wondered, in that case, whether it would be. But hey ho.
No, I'm not too sure, actually. But I wanted to just quickly say that, actually, because there's quite a lovely tweet as well, actually, of a video that's actually someone in the audience in this space, actually, Lisa, I can see. I don't know if Lisa's the mum of Ava Rose, but I remember seeing that video that Partha Carr tweeted out as well, and retweeted out, should I say, and where Ava Rose said about the Dexcom being a superpower, and I thought that's just brilliant. So I just thought that's a lovely thing to put out on World Diabetes Day as well. So
it was one of them tweets that just brought a happy smile to your face, isn't it? We're all living with this really hard life condition, and it's so relentless, 24/7, and just seeing moments like that in these hard times that we're living in on top of diabetes, it just puts it put a big smile on my face. And she's a great warrior and mum as well. So it was lovely to see, for sure. Especially on a Friday. I think he tweeted it on a Friday, didn't it? So it was like good feelings on a Friday. I think it was Friday. I'm losing track of what day it is, to be honest. Brilliant. Was anyone else wanting to follow up on any of that little chat with James and Flipper? And
can I ask James a question?
Yeah, go for it, Leslie.
You were at a conference giving a talk the other day, and it came up saying that you posed the question: should peer support be paid for? Should those giving the peer support be paid? What's your opinion on that?
It's a good one. So basically, my question was wrote, because that's the thing that brought out some really nice comments from both sides, where people were for it or not so for it, and it was raised because through my research on, because I don't just look specifically at peer support in diabetes, I see what's going on around in the world of peer support in general. Actually, diabetes has been kind of inspired by other peer support in other long-term health conditions. So the HIV community, there's a really nice website called positively.uk or .net or something, or .org, and they released a guidance, which actually the 6 principles of peer support was based from, and it was more around the mental health side of things. So in my neighbouring trust, so I work in one NHS trust, and it's the neighbouring one, which is a partnership trust, and they employ peer support workers in both group settings, one-to-ones, etc. And these individuals have lived experience of living with a mental health condition. And then in 2014, there was a study which again looked at people being trained to become peer support workers or specialists, and they were able to save money to reduce the risk of admission into hospital. So that's where the question came in, because the NHS themselves have stated that there's a financial benefit to employing peer support workers, and obviously us as healthcare professionals try to look at cost benefits, and as we said, it's all about bridging that gap that's kind of left beyond those 3 hours. So then it does beg the question of, well, is there something around that? I don't think it's the answer to everything in the avenue of peer support, because I think the heart of it is through that passion of delivery, and whether you have the same level of passion and autonomy, etc. of, for example, channels like this, which is brought up through a need, and it's been voluntarily run for the past 2 years or so. But it depends on the intervention, I guess. So that's where the question was raised, because there's not enough peer support in the UK, in the world, to be fair, and and people need support at different times of the day, different times of the week, and through different elements of peer support. Because this, for example, is just one type of peer support, which I did in the presentation, because you've got telephone support, you've got online support. So we've got the DOCS, which is stand for Diabetes Online Communities. So then I mentioned about the Derby group, and also this amazing group, which is the QIC award-winning group I added on as well. Then you've got one-to-one peer support, which is where a lot of the funding goes towards, actually. And then you've got the group support element, and that could be through gardening activities or certain social activities, to more formal ones, which is, I suppose, the one that I do. And then you've got peer support that's embedded in kind of programs or projects like Daphne and Desmond and other things. So yeah, I don't think there's an easy answer to it. So it's just a question which I posed, and the real thing that's needed is basically that the education side is that there's many people who want to run peer support, but it's a question on how do they, because I suppose Tom can answer this as well. It's one thing to say yes, we'll do a peer support group, but it takes a lot in terms of organising, facilitating, and Flipper and Mary certainly know it as well.
I'm sitting here nodding.
Yeah, and
But
it's this education that's needed. And in the DDoC symposium, they actually said that there was an opportunity for the community that was needed, and this is the element that we in Eden want to look around, is this education, because there really isn't anything out there at this moment in time. So that was part of the question anyway.
Can I bring up though, and this is one of my things, I see there being a big difference between providing education that may lead to peer support just because you're with your peers and actual peer support. And to me, Daphne, that isn't peer support. You might meet your peers and go off and get peer support, but that isn't Daphne. Do you know what I
so
it's difficult to say. There's a difference between educating somebody and offering peer support.
So there is,
and the fact that you just happen to be in a room of your peers isn't peer support.
So the definition of peer support is around being around people who have the same lived, and the mentions about it, the 4 kind of subtypes, and one of them is that self-management intervention programs. And Melanie Davies says herself about the LDC, the Leicester RBT Centre, having peer support embedded in its programs, in its projects as well. It's not a one size fits all thing. I'm not saying it's the main part of it, but it plays a key part, really. But that's an element of peer support. You have got peers around you that can push you through the program, because if you only had, say, yourself going through a Daphne program and no one else, then for some people it might be a lot harder. Whereas you had people who were going through the same experience of you, and you can offer advice. Yes, you're going to go through a curriculum, but you all have opportunities to talk about your experiences, and that is that kind of blend of that peer support, but also having an intervention. But the NHS themselves also say there's not one size rule. Basically, I say the more peer support the better, the more variety the better. But the best type of peer support is those that are run by those who are experienced in facilitating and leading peer support, who have lived experience. There has been questions around peer support embedded in projects like structured education, whether it is a true element of peer support. But there's others that say yes, because you've got that lived experience, it does kind of count as a peer support element. It is a big part of, say, a Daphne part. I do agree in what you're saying as well, Flipper. As
I'm not saying that it's not important and shared experience, but I see it as it's difficult to describe, but I see that as a byproduct of what you're actually doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a benefit to the reason. It's a benefit to the reason why you're going. You're not going to learn from others. You're going there to understand how to carbohydrate count, how to manage during illness, all those sort of things. And then for the person going through Desmond, for example, but it's a nice positive part.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's not that. But I find it quite interesting, just theoretically as well as in practice, what actually counts as peer support.
Yeah. So
do you know what I mean? And that's my thing is it a byproduct? Because I think quite a few healthcare professionals sort of, and when I say quite a lot, obviously not everybody, to my mind, when I've spoken to some of them, they see it as an education. And I'm like, no, that's not peer support at all. You might pick up things.
Yeah.
But that's not the purpose of peer support.
It depends, like I say, it depends on its purpose as well. But I guess the definition, it does kind of lie within it, where you've got peers together. I don't think it's the as I said, it's not the one size, because if there was just that one option, then why are we here? We're here because we're not here to kind of learn a curriculum, are we? We're here to learn from one another and support
no,
each other.
it's
So that's
not. I just think it's a really interesting. I just find it really interesting what different people see peer support as.
Yeah. I think it's hard to really define it, isn't it? It's hard to put a definition as to what peer support is, but I think it's definitely this people who have that similar lived experience, and I think if you've got that, then there is an element of support from peers. I always think the best ones are those that are led by the people for the people. To be honest, that's where I think it is, because you're not going to have true 100% peer support if you're learning from a curriculum all the time or something, because there's people in that group that won't be switched on to certain elements of it, and you won't be talking to other people, or that sort of thing. So I totally where you're coming from, Flipper.
No, I just find it quite interesting, and I think particularly with the NHS trying to embed it, do you know how you sort of think, let's try and define it first. But like you say, I think there's lots of different shapes and sizes of it, and if it works for you, hey, great. Let's not, I'm not knocking it, but I just find that quite interesting.
Yeah, no, 100%. And there's the reason why I say the more the merrier, and the more variety the better, is because like the group that I do might not fit the need for person X, because they won't, they don't want to come to a group support group, or whatever it is at the time of need. I think that we just need a whole bunch of different groups out there, basically, and where people can tap in at different points in time.
Yeah, and I think it's like Renza has said in the past, it's like find your tribe, and one size will not fit all, and it's like even like meetups and things, we all have preferences to which we go to or not go to, or is that for us or is that not. So the more variety there is, then hopefully there's something for more people. So yeah.
I totally agree about the variety too, because it has to be easy. Peer support has to be easy when you need it, and even if it's your favorite thing, if it doesn't suit in your particular time of life or week, or you can't go, because it's like your diabetes is your priority, and your home life is your priority, and then if you can fit it in, you fit it in, and then you benefit from it. But if it doesn't fit in, Twitter's so easy, isn't it? Just because you can dip in and out, and it's not time dependent. Like, you can join a tweet chat like on a Thursday morning or at 2:00 on a Wednesday night, and there's no not letting anybody down by doing that. So there's you don't feel guilty about being late for something like that. I don't anyway.
But I think that's the thing. There are different types, because much as obviously we're on this format, so that's something that we found and that we get on with. But equally, there'll be other people who'll be like, why on earth are you just chatting to people you've never met? And, I don't want to talk to people if I don't know who they are.
No, but you can totally do this in your jammies. You can do this in your pajamas, or when you're washing up, or trying to get your kids to bed.
Mary, I think the fact that you can do peer support in your pajamas is a high priority to you.
Yeah. I know. They should be the new slogans, Mary. When we go do our workshops and stuff, they're like diabetes chat, and then we can have them free slogans. There you go, right there.
Peer support in your jammies.
Wear what you want.
The thing is, you do your peer support and you don't know each other. You've never physically met.
I was just saying, this is a brilliant platform where you can do peer support in your pajamas, or you're doing the washing up still in the kitchen or whatever. But the the group that I do, you know, again, it's just one element of a whole variety that we have available. But the beauty of like group support, for example, yes, it's harder to engage with at times, but you know, you've got that face-to-face element of it, and you know, you can give each other a hug when needed, you know, not when needed, but at that time, and you can just see people's facial expressions as well. And
it's serious self-care, James, when like you have to physically allow the space and go to it and make time for it. It's like going to clinic face to face. Like it's taking that time for yourself, whereas I know I'm just fitting within.
Yeah, and it's not right for everyone, but it's right for some. And like, for example, about probably 70% of the peers, probably 80, don't use Twitter, for example. Some don't have a Facebook account. One of them's in their late 70s, and their husband wants to join. You know, I say about Twitter, and I say I've got tweetitis and horrible chronic condition. Don't join Twitter, or you'll be tweeting for the rest of your life. Yeah, and then, you know, they're like, oh, I don't know what Twitter is. I don't join that. That bit is, you know, that's why variety is so much. It is important.
And that's why hospitals and clinics and things like that have to run these initiatives, these peer support groups, like yours at Leicester, James, Sean at Derby. I'm looking at you, and hopefully more hospitals and centres will be having these groups running, because I think, I don't know the statistic, but yeah, it's a lot of people who aren't on social medias don't get any of this, or aren't aware of this, or don't maybe know the ins and outs of what's happening in the world of diabetes, whether it's research or tech advance or anything. And you know what I mean, before I go on Twitter, like, I had no one. So you know what I mean, if I weren't on Twitter now, I'd probably have no one still. And there's probably so many people out there. So I think groups, local groups like you get, James, and hopefully become national, I think it's so important.
Yeah, you need to meet people where they're at, because I've had a lot of conversations with Belinda in Australia, and she does an awful lot of work with the Indigenous community, and it is like, there's no hard to reach people. It's just you have to get up off your ass to meet them. And meeting people where they're at.
Sean's put peer support in bed here, one step on from PJs. Selfie. Hashtag DiabetesChat.
That's peer pressure. That's peer pressure, Tom. Peer support.
Yeah, you do whatever you want, guys. Do whatever you want. Brilliant chat. Very important question. I think that in way there has to be a bridge, I think, between the healthcare system and peers, and if there's ways that people, the communities, can help peers, I think that is a possibility, but it's how it comes about. And I know Partha, when we talked, selfie would be way too scary. I know when we posed a question to Partha, he said it's something that they will look at maybe next year. But it's the serious conversations behind it of training people up, educating people, the safety of it. But yeah, it is really interesting, and especially as Partha was talking about, of the rollout of hybrid closed loop and stuff like that. Yeah, it's very important. But I think the main thing is, at least there are amazing communities out there like this, and Derby, and DDoc and GB Doc, and the America one, Shanice. I forgot her name now. You know what I mean? There's so many amazing communities. James's Podding Group, and I just think it's very, very important that we're all here to help the communities. And great question, Leslie. Did James answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious because it got into a good debate online, and up in Scotland they've actually advertised for peer support paid peer support for getting people onto closed loops so that they can benefit from someone's knowledge who uses it, so they get all the little tips and tricks.
I think I saw something similar to that as well. Trying to think where it was. Richard's on the line. Can't remember where it was now. And it will be interesting if these things come about. I know James mentioned about the Eden value of it as well, so we'll keep an eye on that. Interesting, guys, really interesting. So let's have a look. Wow, 26 minutes past 10. Richard, you haven't spoke yet, and you've been sitting there really, really patiently, and it's 26 minutes past. I'm not going to put a pressure on you. You can talk as long as you want, just not like 2 hours.
It's been a fantastic evening, Tom, listening in. It's just been incredible, just listening into all the community sharing and spreading the love, and it's just we're better together, aren't we? You know, I mean, when you look at the rollout of closed loop and hybrid closed loop and stuff like that, if someone's a little bit doubtful of it, you know, they can perhaps meet up. I mean, I did that with Sean many years ago, and I met them all pretty close to where I live, within Derbyshire. Met them, and they were looking at the watches, and they got the blood sugars on the watches. I said, "Crikey!" I mean, obviously, if you're out of the loop for a long time, you don't realise, and you get like your diabetes distress, and you know, you get sort of depressed and stuff, and you think, well, you know, 2018, I wanted to grab the bull by the horns and manage my diabetes to the nth level. I wanted to improve my management to type 1, you know, to make myself feel better and enable myself to live a better life. And then obviously you meet peer groups like Darby that I met, Sean, Alistair, Sarah, Jeremy, and you just like a problem shares a problem halved. And within about 3 months, probably Sean will back me up, Alistair told me that evening what I needed to start DIY closed looping, and I've never looked back. And it's just an incredible method of managing your type 1 diabetes. It just lifts so much load off your mind, and your mind's got more space to do nice things, and you know, you can sleep at night and not worry about looking for a bottle of Lucozade in the morning when you're getting up for work at like 4:30. You know, it's just like the rollout's going to be difficult. I know. I know. I spoke to Sean about it. It's going to be difficult, you know, a hybrid closed loop rollout and stuff. But there could be like certain areas where you can mix with people that have been running it, either commercial or DIY, and you can speak to people about it, and you can lessen the worry and guide them and just help them understand it more. You know, it's not going to be suitable for everyone. I know that, but you know, technology now allows you to manage a chronic illness that if you don't manage it correctly and look after yourself, it can have severe issues like later on in life. And I think, you know, the community now that we've all got and become part of, it's just an amazing platform to communicate and to share experiences and stuff. Like lived experience is massive. I mean, May next year, May the 10th, I'll have had it 40 years, 4 decades. I mean, that's like half your life. Well, it's, you know, if you live till you're 80, if you're lucky enough to live to 80, 40 years is a long time to have a chronic illness. And, you know, it's just amazing to listen in tonight. And, you know, the stuff James is doing, and it's just amazing, you know, to have that ability to like liaise with other services within the NHS. I mean, I've had a few issues recently with it. I've got another comorbidity, if you like. I've got Charcot-Marie tooth disease, which I got diagnosed in 2021. But I've been to see the diabetic clinic, the foot clinic, and they've referred me to see this orthotics lady, and I'm going to have these special things that you basically end up with foot drop and all sorts. But the service that I've been provided is just incredible. You know, within 3, 4, 5 weeks, I've been seen by some real top healthcare professionals, and there's a loads of lessons. You know, I know I've got diabetes type 1, but this other CMT thing, my diabetes is on a back burner with having all this support and all this, you know, help with running closed loop, a DIY closed loop system. But, you know, the connectivity between the foot, you know, diabetes foot clinic and then the orthotics people, they're all in the same community hospital in Derby, you know, London Road Community Hospital. And the connectivity is just like incredible. It's just an amazing, you know, we're very, very lucky indeed to have such a wonderful NHS, and God forbid it ever goes private, like a lot of dentistry is. It'll be sad to see if that's the case, but peer support's such a big part of life nowadays, you know, since COVID and stuff, and reaching out and helping others. It's just amazing.
And I think a big part of that, Rich, as well, is the opportunity to connect with healthcare professionals. So I think it's good that we can have communities that we can talk to each other, learn from each other, share things, ask questions at then different times of the day, like you guys already said, but also having an opportunity to connect with a healthcare professional like James, that literally has come on tonight while washing his dishes, like, and gave at least an hour probably of his time. And we talked about before, how long do you guys get to spend with your healthcare professional? And the average diabetes case, say about 3 hours. Well, tonight James has given himself 1 hour to the community, like, you know what I mean? So I think it's so great that we've got great people like James who
absolutely
support the communities, because it really helps, and just connects us all up, isn't it? Like you say, we're all stronger together, and yeah, I think it's been a really cool chat tonight, guys. It's been an open forum chat. Hopefully connection's been all right. I've had to run through my phone tonight because having a few issues with the laptop, but we're still streaming to YouTube, so that's good. Belinda and Rob and a few of the guys have been messaging in there, so that's been lovely. Loads of comments coming from Belinda over in Australia, and it's been really cool listening. Was anyone else wanted to conclude tonight with any questions or any thoughts or any comments, or was anything before we finish for the evening? I'm happy to overrun for a bit, but we've had a few different topics tonight, but was there anyone that wanted to definitely mention anything?
Can I just make a quick plug about my diabetes story that was run by or launched on World Diabetes Day this year? Basically, my diabetes story is a platform or a website where we can all share our type 1 story, our diagnosis stories and things like that. And they just want to put everybody's voice together, so it's all in one place and it's easy for people to go to. So when people are newly diagnosed or feeling down about diabetes or things like that, they can see other people sharing their diabetes stories. They like to call us Avengers. And it's just a platform and a community for all living with type 1 diabetes just to share their story. So if you have 5 minutes or a couple minutes of your day spare, it'd be great to see you all share your stories over there at some point.
Cheers, Di. That's great, mate. And Jay James from the Overtones, he been to a few JDF events, and that's where I actually met Jay. And he's a great person, and he shared his son's was diagnosed with diabetes, and it changed their world. And if you watch back some of his Instagram videos and stuff, you'll see journey that they've been on. I think from pens to pump, but back to pens now because they're finding it a bit hard at the minute. And through stuff, he met Tom Ball, and anyone that knows Tom Ball, he was on the X Factor, and he met Jay. And
talent.
Britain's Got Talent, yeah, that's the one.
Jay was on X Factor. Tom was on Britain's Got Talent. I'm not a stalker, I swear.
Thanks for correcting me. It's too late. I've literally not slept for about a week. So yeah, you can go check out that, and Tom has type 1, and both of them are fantastic, supporting the communities. And they've launched, like I said, the platform, and it's great. And go check it out. And they have different stories and videos and live events and podcasts, and our Diabetes Chat podcast, I believe, will be on there as well. A place that they're trying to bring things together and stuff, so that'd be cool. Go check it out, and yeah, go have a look. Mary, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, right, because I rebuilt my DIY, because Richard was talking about like DIY loop and all, and I rebuilt mine, and finally got it rebuilt. And thanks to Kirsty, like when I saw Kirsty's talk, it was just that bit about the Libra. It just made me sad, and that was exactly how sad I was feeling, like where nothing was working. I was trying really hard, and I just needed it to work. And I thought, I need to do this myself. I need to make time. I need to stop and make it work. And the next upgrade on iApps that I use, anyway, that's the one I use. I haven't bolused since yesterday afternoon, and I am still type 1, but I've had 69% time in range today.
Wow, that's incredible,
Isn't that mad? Isn't that mad? So I'm a little bit high. I'm a little bit higher than I normally am, like or like, and I've had twitchy fingers, but it was just quite strong over the weekend. I had lots of hypos, and I thought, I'm just going to see what happens if I don't bolus. And this is the first time I haven't bolused in so long. Well, actually, I'm going to say since very early on in my diagnosis, because I didn't have any symptoms when I was diagnosed at all. And you know, I kind of related to how an older sibling gets, like when they've a younger sibling, like a little baby. It's all exciting at the start, and then exciting is probably the wrong word. It's all new and it's okay, and it's different, and then a few months later they realize that this is forever. This is not that great. I stopped taking my insulin for like maybe a day or two, and because I didn't know if I had type 1 or not. Like I hadn't had any symptoms. I haven't not taken my insulin since that, like, and this is the first time like since 26 years, and it's been a weird day. But yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Like, so I'm going to go back to doing minor. Well, I'll see what tomorrow looks like, but it's a weird one. That was all I was going to add.
And I think that's another element to peer support, isn't it? With all this sort of thing, helping each other out and looking at tech and stuff. And without people like, let's mention some people like Richard and Norman and people who have become really good friends of mine, and like they've helped with setting Night Scout up or X Strip, so I can see my numbers a bit more clearer without having to click on the app. So in school, that I don't have to open the phone, I can just like tap and it's there. It's brilliant. I can have it to my watch, but I'd say I'm quite technologically advanced, but this is like next step thing, right? And I've learned a lot along the way, and they've taught me, and I can do stuff myself now. But like having these people, peer support, to help me with this technology and kind of get me using stuff is incredible. And you know what I mean? Imagine going to your appointment, just saying, "Hey, can you help me get my sugars on my phone, on my watch, please?" And I don't know if the consultants or people would know that. I don't know whether they'd be able to give you the time to do that. Who knows? But just having the peer support community to help in them instances is just bloody marvelous. It's like, it's great. And when things hit the fan and goes wrong and whatever, I literally text Richard or Norman or whoever, or you, Mary, or put it on Twitter or whatever, and people are like bang, 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 and trying to help you out. And people have your back, and that's to me peer support, is people having your back and sharing that load because they understand it. They wear that t-shirt. They understand the relentlessness of it, and yeah, like it's great to have people like that.
Totally.
Alrighty. So, anyone else wanted to say anything before we round up for the evening?
Can I ask a favor?
Go on.
Can you tweet the link that I gave you for the Diabetes Tech Can't Wait report, just to get it out to a few more people?
Yeah.
Thank
You want me to do that now or tomorrow? What's best?
Whenever you can.
That's fine. Yeah, I will do that. I will tweet out to say thank you for the amazing tech collective team, Leslie and Ali and Paul was here and Stephen. And go check out the report. I will do that after we close up tonight.
Thank you.
And then I need to go do some dishes. Just talking to James offline. I can't when I'm doing diabetes chat. I literally can't multitask on many things. And I've just been literally glued here all night. Like, don't move because I'm on my phone tonight. So I don't even want to go to the other room to get a drink. So I will go get a drink in a minute and I will post it out. But you know what? It's been we say this every week, but it's probably been one of the best open forum chats we've had. We started doing this diabetes chat, started just like this, just talking out, and then we introduced our guest speaker chats, but we still have our open forum chats each week. And then speaking to the team, we try and catch up as often as we can because obviously everyone's busy and stuff. And we talked about what else we want to do with diabetes chat, and we talked about including more open forum chats in the schedule. So we were doing like 4 guest speakers a month, but now we do 3 guest speakers a month, and one is an open forum chat. And tonight's been really empowering, really great, and really interactive, and it's been lovely seeing so many people tuned in and getting involved, messaging. The YouTube stream's been going great, loads of messages there. Lots of people jumping on the panel. It's been really, really good, and this is what it was all about and is still about, and we'll continue to do this going forward. And if anyone, like I said early on, has any suggestions of anything, like, just give me a shout, or Mary or Philippa or Claire or Kez and whoever, and or tweet it out, and we're always open to do things. This is for the community, by the community, and that's the vision for it. And any way that we can help raise awareness, and Ali and Leslie, like, connecting up with you guys, it's been such an honor to see you guys and all the amazing stuff that you've been doing online, but then bringing you onto diabetes chat and sharing about it and raising and doing that marvelous event we did in July. And I know we'll try and do something again next year. It's just really special, really, isn't it? Yep. Alrighty.
because Mary's got hers.
Yeah, no, I saw that. Brilliant. That's brilliant. I'm waiting expectantly.
So
It's
there
dead
you go.
nice. It's really lovely.
I'm excited.
Lovely taste.
Super.
Thank you so much, Claire.
No problem.
Right, guys, have a great week, and we'll see you hopefully soon. Look after yourselves.
Happy juice 5.5.
Happy days.
Oh, very good.
For now.
See you guys.
See you next week. Bye.
And because I'm on and because I'm not on the computer, I can't do the jingle to finish. What a shame.
Oh no, Tom! I'm so
Oh man!
upset.
Come on, Mary. You must know it off by heart and by now.
No. Quick, let me go and get my old Game Boy and see if it still works.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye.
week, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great week.